Hey viewers, just wanted to do a quick video about belt and deck wear on a treadmill. Uh, we have a customer's AFG treadmill here, which is a Johnson treadmill. Also, many treadmills very similar to this would be under the Livestrong, Horizon, and Vision brand names. And we're here to replace a worn out belt and deck. And what a lot of customers I find, they don't have the ability to discern or tell when their belt and deck are worn because the signs aren't always visible. People say often to me that, oh, I looked at the belt and the deck and they look fine. Well, here's the customer's old belt and deck. And yeah, it might look fine on initial viewing, but you can see there are score marks on this one. This one is not terrible. You could possibly put a new belt on this and get away with reusing this, but usually what we'll see is deep scoring from dirt and rocks, usually from using outdoor shoes and dirt and dust. And this surface, it's called a phenolic material. It's paper thin and it wears down quickly, and usually it wears down to the point where your belt is rubbing on basically particle board. It'll still be black and you won't be able to visually tell. The only real way to tell is to do a friction test, or when the treadmill's all together, you can do an amp draw test and walk on the outer edges versus the inner edges, because on the outer edges of the belt we don't have wear as much usually, but we may have sweat and residue and dirt that still might mess up your results. But usually in a cleaner home, I'll be able to do this test. I can take the belt and rub it and feel. There's quite a bit of friction there. And if we use the outer edge of the belt where you don't normally walk, the fibers should be in good shape still, and we have much less friction. So the fibers of the belt, even though visually it looks fine, these are worn. And the best way you can tell on these treadmills if they're worn, this is kind of exclusive to this brand, is you'll see a buildup of this fuzz, these fibers. You'll see it on the edges of the rollers. It'll build up on the rollers as well, and you'll see it on the edge of the deck, and you'll get these little clumps of this fuzz, and that is literally the fibers of the belt that have just pulled off over time. These belts kind of self-destruct. So that's one good visual indicator. Otherwise, comparing an old belt to a new belt, aside from being dirtier, the old belt visually looks okay. You can't tell the difference. And if we were to do a friction check on the old deck versus the new deck, I can feel there is less friction on the new deck versus the old deck, even though this one looks pretty decent. Like I said, you could get away with reusing this if you really wanted to, but it still won't be quite as low friction as replacing your belt and deck. If you want the lowest friction, you want to replace the belt and deck together at the same time. They are a matching set. But if it were my own personal treadmill, you might get away with this, but generally it's not recommended. Okay, so just wanted to run that video and get that info out there, so hopefully people can do it, a test to confirm. You can get on your treadmill and walk on it manually, first on the outer edges, basically walking bow-legged, and then step in the center. And if you notice a big difference in friction, where stepping in the center you notice there's quite a bit more friction, you're way past due. It's time to replace your belt. If you don't replace your belt, what people often find is their motor controller board on their treadmill just gets overloaded and it blows. So then you need a new belt, deck, and motor controller, and very often it's a throwaway situation because the treadmill's not worth repairing at that point. There we go. Hope that helps.